Hope you all are having a pleasant weekend so far. For most of us, we woke up in a nice warm house with heat and hot water and electricity and light and all those things that we've gotten used to in this country over the last 100 years or so. For a lot of other people, they did not, because on Wednesday night in Michigan and other parts of the Midwest, there was an ice storm that was so bad that by Thursday morning, all of our employees who live in Michigan and most of our friends from that area were completely iced in. One of them could not get out of the house because her front door was frozen shut. One of them had an inch of solid ice on her car. None of them had electricity. Most of them didn't have heat. I think all of them didn't have heat. People with wells didn't even have cold water, let alone hot water, because their well pumps couldn't work because there was no electricity to run the well pumps. And so it was a bit of a disaster. You didn't hear a lot of people whining about it because that's just not how people are in the Midwest. But, compared to, say, if there's 2 inches of snow in Washington, D.C., and they go into a full-scale panic, that kind of thing. But no, it was pretty catastrophic. And you say, well, so what? You can live without power for a couple days. Sure, you can live without power for a couple days, but do you want to have to? If there are options and you can prevent it. And there are ways to keep from having to throw out an entire freezer full of meat, or an entire refrigerator full of groceries that you just bought a couple of days ago. And so what this comes down to is, for people who don't yet know it, who still don't know it, the F-150 PowerBoost is the one and only pickup truck you should think about buying, to be honest, if you're going to buy a 1500 series or a light duty. If you live anywhere that has weather like that, such as in the Midwest during the winter, which lasts about 7 or 8 months in some places, some parts of it, Minnesota, Wisconsin. If you live in the Southwest, where they have brownouts all the damn time during the summer. If you live in Texas, even, where they've had a couple of experiences now with large-scale blackouts, meaning millions of customers without power. The F-150 PowerBoost is still the only truck that has high output AC power built into it from the factory. And it can run your house for days when there's a blackout. And so we've talked about it a couple times in the past, and people have said, oh, well, that's no big deal. Again, an electric car, like those new Hyundais or even the F-150 Lightning, can run your house when there's a blackout, because they've got, what's it called, V2H, vehicle to house capability, where you can charge the car one day from your house, when your house is running on grid power, and then if there's a blackout, no big deal, you can backfeed your house using your car's battery or your F-150 Lightning's battery. And the obvious problem with that is that it doesn't make its own electricity. And so after a couple days, you're SOL, you're out of luck. And then you're back where you started. But worse yet, you don't just have no power and hot water and heat in your house. You've got a car or truck with a dead battery sitting in your driveway. And so now you've got double or triple the problems you had before, because you can't even leave. And sure, you can start to ration your power, and you can reduce your load all the way to, the bare minimum. But eventually, after a couple days, that EV battery is going to run out, and then you're going to be stuck. And with the F-150 PowerBoost, and only the F-150 PowerBoost, you can power your house indefinitely. And if the gas starts to run low, you can drive out to a gas station, which most likely has power, and get some gas. It's a lot easier to go somewhere and get gas than it is to charge a dead electric vehicle battery when there's no electricity anywhere in your entire city or county or state. And so, you know, again, we got that PowerBoost, 2 years ago? Spring of 21 when it first came out. And still 2 years later, there is nothing else like it. No other pickup truck, light duty, no heavy duty, no SUV, really nothing else. And people would say, well, the hell with that. Just get a home generator. Just get one of those power walls, the Tesla power walls, and then you can run your house. But the problem is, again, with the power wall, that only works until the electricity in it runs out. And it's not getting recharged off the grid. And if there's a really bad blizzard or even an ice storm, maybe your solar panels, if you have those on your house, might not be working because maybe they're covered in 6 or 8 inches of snow. And maybe if the ice storm is bad enough, maybe it's starting to damage your solar panels, that kind of thing. So, and by the way, being a pickup truck, this thing can not just power your house, but if it's the next neighborhood over and you've got an employee that's without power, you can actually move it between locations, unlike your static home generator. So again, it's astonishing. 2 years after it first hit the market, 2.5 years after it was first announced, there is still nothing out there like it. Now, there is something, there is kind of a weak imitation, and that's the Pro Power on board that you can get in your 5.0, I think your regular 3.5 EcoBoost, maybe your 2.7 EcoBoost. And that's a 2 kilowatt version. The only problem with that, and apparently, as we've heard, as we've been led to believe, the new 23 Super Duty has a 2 kilowatt Pro Power on board system, which runs off a completely separate circuit than the 12 volt circuit in your, the automotive circuit that runs most of the systems in your vehicle. It's actually got a 24 volt circuit, apparently, according to a Ford employee who we talked to, that actually has 2 batteries in series that run off their own separate alternator. And that's what runs the Pro Power on board of the Super Duty, the new Super Duty. And we're just scratching our head like they went to all that effort, but they only gave it a 2 kilowatt output, which is kind of weak. It definitely doesn't move the needle. It definitely, again, doesn't come close to what the F-150, which has been on the market, which is in its 3rd model year now, can do in terms of the 2.4 or the 7.2. And the beauty of the 7.2 is that can run your entire house. 7.2 kilowatts. That can run your air conditioner for a 3,500 square foot house. No big deal. For half the summer if it needs to. Well, for as long as it needs to. And a 2.4, 2.0, that's not going to run your air conditioning. That will probably run your furnace, though. Your gas or oil powered furnace. It's not going to put out a lot of electric heat, though. And it's not going to run air conditioning in the summer. And so it's just crazy. Again, we've got every single employee of ours in our company has been without power since Wednesday night. And that's, 3 nights now? And the people that have a generator in their house, they're okay. The people that have a power wall, they may or may not be okay. If they've got solar panels that happen to be running, yeah, they're fine. But it's just crazy that there is no other truck that you can get still after this many years. Nobody's even announced anything that can run your house. And so it's yet another reason why the PowerBoost is the truck to get if you're shopping for a light duty. Not the F-150 Lightning, because that truck, again, the battery in that thing is going to die eventually, and then you're stuck, not just with no power or heat or maybe even running water in your house, but you're stuck with a dead pickup truck in your driveway that can't be charged. I should say it's yet another reason not to get the Lightning. And yeah, there's been some discussion about, well, they found a potential flaw that could lead to a battery fire, and so they've got a stop build and a stop ship order in effect right now. They'll figure that out eventually. But even when they do, what they should have done was make that truck a plug-in hybrid, and that would have been close to perfect if they'd made it a plug-in hybrid, even with half the battery that it has. Like, instead of 230, maybe it had 115 mile electric range on the lower range version. As long as it had a damned gasoline engine or diesel engine, better yet, that could keep that battery topped off, it would be close to perfect. And there a couple of people have said that Ford was working on that, on a version, again, a plug-in hybrid, and they sort of threw their hands up and gave up on it when everybody started ordering Lightnings, when the Lightning was announced, which would have been, what, late summer of 21? Sometime around then. And again, that was, in our opinion, that was a dumb decision, because a lot of people now are canceling their orders for their F-150 Lightnings because they've been hearing all about the crappy range that it has, that some of us knew it was going to have who've ever driven an electric vehicle. We owned a Tesla for 2 years and drove, we put 50,000 miles on it. We did a couple of cross-country road trips on it. Okay. Great vehicle in so many ways. Fastest car we've ever driven. But the battery range, even on a Tesla with, what, a 0.23 drag coefficient, is still limited, especially in cold weather. And the drag and the range on a F-150, with the aerodynamics of an F-150, is severely limited as well, especially in cold weather, let alone when you're trying to tow something with it. And so Ford hyped the hell out of that truck, and some people knew there was no way it was going to live up to the claims, and a lot of other people have found out the hard way over the last couple years. So bad on Ford for not doing the right thing and making a plug-in hybrid like they should have, because they felt like they just had to get out ahead of the Tesla Cybertruck and make a fully electric F-150, and they have severely limited the usefulness of that thing. It's basically a toy for urban cowboys who maybe commute to the office during the week and maybe go back and forth to Home Depot or Costco on the weekend, and that's basically what it's good for. Or maybe somebody that runs like a local delivery business, or maybe someone that runs like a landscaping business, and they're never going to tow a trailer more than 50 or 60 or 80 miles. But then you have to wonder, how can you possibly justify making the payments on that thing when you're doing that little driving with it? So, you know, the kind of person who would actually find that truck useful is somebody who drives maybe 150 or 200 miles a day in ideal weather. Or maybe they drive 150, 200 miles out, and then they charge it overnight, and then they drive 150 or 200 miles back. But how many people do that kind of thing? Not a lot. So, long and the short of it is, the PowerBoost is still the truck to have if you live in a place that is subject to extreme weather, like the Midwest, or the Southeast during hurricane season, or Texas now during the winter, or the Southwest during the summer. And so we're talking most of the country, to be honest. If you're going to get one and only pickup truck, the PowerBoost with the high output Pro Power on board, meaning the 7.2 kilowatt Pro Power on board, is the one to get. And then if you have two trucks, then you can get something else, kind of like we've got the PowerBoost and this one here, which is the diesel, which is a good truck in a lot of ways, but it's not going to help you during a blackout. And we got a couple of HDs. We got a Duramax. We've got a Cummins 5.9. But if you have to get one and only pickup, the PowerBoost is the one to get. Thanks, everyone. Talk to you later.